Rain hammered against the living room window as he sat slouched on the couch, a thick stack of HOA letters scattered on the coffee table. Another envelope was torn open, revealing the words in bold, Violation 47, Unapproved Shed Paint Color. Fine, $250. His jaw clenched as the paper crumpled in his fist. 2 months earlier, the warm afternoon sun lit up the backyard while he stood on a ladder, brush in hand, painting the shed a cedar brown. Footsteps approached on the grass. A clipboard was held like a weapon. "That color hasn't been approved," came the voice. "It's my shed. In my backyard. Rules are rules." Back in the present, another letter hit the growing pile. She walked in with 2 steaming mugs, setting one down beside him. "Another one? That's 6 this month. They're targeting you. They want me gone." The monthly HOA meeting buzzed with low chatter inside the cramped community hall. A banner announced the association's name. He stepped up to the table where the board sat, dropping the stack of violation letters onto it with a thud. 6 in 4 weeks. For grass an inch too tall, for a trash can out 15 minutes too long. That's not enforcement, that's harassment. "We maintain standards," one of them said coolly. "Or your vendetta," he shot back. The garage smelled faintly of oil and sawdust as he paced back and forth, the weight of the evening pressing in. She sat on the stool, watching him. "They won't stop," he said. "More fines, then legal. Threats. What's your plan?" "Find out exactly how deep this goes." Days blurred together. His fingers flew over the laptop keyboard, digging through public HOA records. Calls were made to neighbors who'd been on the wrong side of the board before. Photos were taken of the board members' own properties, unapproved paint colors, prohibited lawn ornaments, even a banned above-ground pool. Late nights were spent studying the HOA's financial reports, eyes narrowing at mysterious payments to consultants no one had ever heard of. Over coffee at the kitchen table, the former HOA treasurer leaned in. "You're right," he said quietly. "Ronald's been signing checks for years, tens of thousands, to people who don't exist. Prove it, and you can burn them to the ground." The next morning, a certified envelope slid into the mailbox. He tore it open, reading the words, "Final notice. Pending lien on property." His gaze drifted down the street toward the HOA president's house. His hands tightened into fists. They thought he was cornered. They had no idea what was coming. The days after the lien notice were quiet. Too quiet. Neighbors waved cautiously, as if afraid being seen with him would draw the board's wrath. But the quiet was deceptive. It was the stillness before a storm. The home office was lit only by the glow of the monitor. Screenshots of bank statements, photos of violations, and transcribed phone calls filled the folders on the desktop. He had dates, amounts, names, everything needed to crush them. At dawn, the printer hummed steadily, spitting out page after page of evidence. Copies were made. Some went into a manila folder marked Attorney. Others were sealed in envelopes addressed to county officials, the state's HOA oversight board, and a local investigative reporter. By mid-morning, the first letter hit the president's desk at the HOA office. It was followed by another and another, each one a formal notice of complaint backed by legal citations. The president called that afternoon, his voice taut with forced civility. "This is unnecessary. We can work something out." "It's too late for that," came the reply. 2 days later, the neighborhood buzzed with news. A reporter's van rolled slowly down the street. Cameras caught close-ups of peeling paint on the vice president's garage door, the unpermitted patio behind the secretary's house, and the illegally installed above-ground pool hidden behind the treasurer's fence. The story aired that night, a segment titled HOA Board Accused of Corruption and Abuse of Power. The anchor read out the figures. Tens of thousands of dollars in unexplained payments, conflicts of interest, and selective enforcement of rules. Phones rang all night. Neighbors knocked on his door, some with tears in their eyes, thanking him for finally standing up to them. Others quietly slid their own violation notices across his table, asking for help. The next HOA meeting was packed. People stood in the hallway, craning their necks to see inside. The board members sat stiffly, their smiles brittle. Every time someone from the crowd spoke, it was another accusation, another demand for resignation. One by one, they cracked. The treasurer resigned first, mumbling about personal reasons. The vice president followed, avoiding eye contact. Even the president's voice shook as he announced he was stepping down for the good of the community. Applause thundered through the room. He didn't smile, not yet. He knew the fight wasn't over. The HOA would survive in some form. But the days of unchecked power were gone. Weeks later, a new board was elected, neighbors who promised transparency and fairness. The fines against him were dropped. The lien vanished from the record. The shed in the backyard stood exactly as it had before, its cedar-brown paint glowing in the sunlight. Walking to the mailbox one warm morning, he found it empty. No violations. No threats. Just peace. They had pushed him too far, and now every time they passed him on the street, they remembered why they would never try it again.